So, welcome to the B Chats for Business Brilliance podcast. Today, we have Byron Cain, part of our executive director leadership here at Michigan Bed and Breakfast Association. And we're going to talk about Google Analytics. I know you've probably heard the term. Many of you are well into it, maybe some are not, but great topic for us to discuss in our podcast. So my first question to you, Byron, is why would an innkeeper bother even looking at their analytics?
Well, thank you, Ken, for having me on. I've looked forward to this for a long time. I think we can add a lot of value to all of our members by showing them how their business can run better and how actually it looks like to their guests. So the question is, why would you look at your analytics? Your analytics tells you how many people are looking at your website, how they found your website. You can look and see what the age grouping, the demographics, male, female. You can even find out which cities your people are coming to your website from. And most of our members now have reservation systems that will track a user's visit to your website all the way through the booking process. So Google's got to be very careful about not allowing you to track an individual by name or by some other characteristic that you could identify them. So if you have enough visitors to your website, they'll actually detail that information very well for you. If you have just a few people come into your website, they're going to aggregate it in such a way that you really couldn't ever identify which guest made which reservation. Regardless, it's really important to try and add that monetization part into your analytics.
So now what does that mean? What's monetization?
Okay, so the purpose of your website is to make money. It's to bring traffic to your business. Correct. And then once you have that traffic, it's to keep them on your website long enough that they will actually make a booking.
And Google will track that.
And Google will track that entirely for you. They'll tell you what percentage of people have come through the first page, gone on into your booking page, how long they stayed on the website, and whether they eventually made a booking from it.
Wow, it's like Google Analytics lifts the veil behind your website to actually see if your website is working.
And so if Google's doing all of this for you, a lot of work for you, and they're telling you how valuable your website is and your internet presence is, why wouldn't you want to look at that?
Exactly.
So that perhaps raises the question, two questions then I think to me is, how often should you look at it? And how difficult is it to set up something to look at?
Well, let's start with how often first, and then we can get into the how.
Okay, so I was walking with my dog this morning and my beautiful wife, and I had the thought come across my mind that why would you look at your website? How often? And I thought, well, it's like your bank account, perhaps your investment account. How often should you look at your bank account? You know, you should at least look at your bank account once a month to see, you know, when you're going to reconcile if there's going to be some problems. If you treat it like you're an investment, you might not look as often, but you'll look at some critical times, even seasonally, to see if, you know, certain, depending on how you might set that up, to see whether or not your investments are in the right direction, whether you want to balance them, so forth. And the analogy holds because the analytics will tell you which pages are working and which ones aren't.
Huh.
So in that sense, it's like investment. I think the banking account analogy is like you better be aware of whether or not something's starting to break. And your analytics will tell you immediately that all of a sudden your traffic has dropped, or a page isn't working very well.
So how would you know that if it's broke, just traffic goes down?
Yes, yeah. And in fact, when you first go in and log into your analytics, you'll go to a little button that says reports, and it'll have overviews. And the immediate overviews are where are people coming from, called acquisition, how engagement says how long they're there, where they're going, what they're doing on your website. Uh, and then, of course, the third major report is the monetization aspect. And the monetization, again, is important because it will tell you um, whether things are falling off, your booking engine is broken or is in the wrong place or is hidden behind too many pages
Huh.
or is too difficult to use.
And you can learn all this from going to Google Analytics.
Right. And I think the learning process is interesting because the first time you look at it, it might look like Greek. And
Yes,
then
this
pretty
is true.
soon you make a few connections from month to month about what appears to be happening. And since our businesses are all very seasonal, you'll start to see things change as spring warms up. You might see a little burst for Valentine's Day, and then you'll get the timing for next year if you wanted to come start any changes on your website or social media marketing. You might start it 2 or 3 weeks earlier, but you'll see those bumps on your analytics, which will give you the clues. So I think the one thing we were never very good at, but initially we never put calendars together.
Okay.
So making your notes on a calendar as you're looking at your analytics can tie back into your social media calendar, even your financial calendar. So when we looked in the past on our analytics, I remember seeing how crazy it was. Some years, February and April were really, really good off-season months for us.
Okay.
And other times, March and May were really good months for us. And so every year was a little bit different, but you could start to get a peek of that early by looking at a week or two before those months started to see if people were planning their vacation.
So then you cater your marketing efforts, and then you can actually see if they paid off.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's the
And and
advantage.
and and measure it from year to year and season to season. And just again, go back to the analogy of the bank account. You want to start to put those investments back in at the right time.
Awesome. So, okay, I'm an innkeeper. Now you got me committed. I'm going to go investigate. I'm going to learn. How do I do that?
You type in analytics.google.com,
Do I have to have a special account for that? Or what?
and almost everybody at this point that has a business will have a a business account with Google. You show up on their map, so they know about you. If you've never ever done it before, which most of our members have done it before, but if you've never done it before, you'll be able to sign up to claim ownership of that particular business.
Oh, okay.
And so I think almost everybody has claimed ownership of that business. And then once you have, then you can also certainly set up an analytics account using the same email that you signed up with your business profile. Uh,
Okay.
and in the old days, I think a lot of us probably set up our analytics first and then the business profile. But Google's going to help tie all of their services back together for you.
Now, what does that mean?
So, so you wouldn't want to have a separate email for your business profile from your analytics.
No.
Because then you're managing several passwords, and Google doesn't want you to do that too, because it's going to confuse them to a certain degree.
Okay.
So you have a business email, and Google wants to use that as much as possible across all their services.
So that's not necessarily your personal email. This is strictly your in business.
Right. So a lot of our real small business owners probably use their personal email. Some will be even so old as to have a Hotmail type account, which
Okay.
is from many, many years ago. Um, my recommendation for anybody that has not set up their analytics and their business profile is to get a Gmail account, because
Got it.
Google will trust that Gmail. They have ways of making sure nobody steals, or it's harder to steal your credentials. So if you can set up a Gmail account, something like leonard@logan@gmail.com,
Uh-huh.
if you don't already have a business account that has applied, um, we have loaded in for Michigan Bed and Breakfast Association. We actually have a business account with Google, and so we can do 6 or 7 or 10, whatever we want to pay for, emails like Office at
Yes. Okay.
and Byron
Yep.
at and Donna at. So some of the larger ends have also done that same thing. They'll run some of their business profile actually using Google services. And Google will allow you to use leonard@logan.com as your name, but then provide you all these other services like email services, analytics, and all that. None of that's necessary, and is more complicated than it needs to be for small 3 and 4 bedroom
Sure.
ends. Once you start getting up to 8 to 12, it's really not a bad thing to do, particularly if you're going to have innkeepers,
Yep.
or if you have outside people doing some marketing for you. You could assign them a particular uh, email address to use for web admin, so on and so forth. But again, if you've got a big enough in and you've started setting up those purposes, analytics is probably part of your arsenal already. It's an arrow in your quiver.
Got it.
Now, but I think for a lot of our members that are the smaller ends, the 3 to 7, 8, that are still scared of looking at their analytics, that's the people we should be really helping with.
So how can that group of people start to get their feet wet? So all they need to do, analytics.google.com, log in. And a lot of
Yes,
times you're already logged in. You didn't know it because you're into your email.
exactly. And also a lot of times, whoever's built your website, if anyone's done any marketing for you, even your family or friends, a lot of times they will have set that up for you already.
So then I go there and I'm logged in and I'm looking at the screen. How do I, like, my initial things? What should I look at? How do I get my
Okay.
feet wet?
So Google has made this easier and easier and easier. Every time you log into analytics.google.com, the very first thing it shows you is an overview. And up in the right corner is a little share button, the button that shows a dot at the bottom with 2 or 3 arrows going up. That's the share button, universal sign for share. And you can actually share that report on a weekly or monthly type basis. And that is your first introduction. Now, I have a little problem with that, because I would encourage deeply everyone to go into the analytics and keep playing with it, keep looking at all the little menu items. go through acquisition, go through engagement.
Because I'm
And
not
then
going to break
there's,
it, am I?
oh, absolutely not. And
Okay.
then there's a new button all the way to the left called Explore. And this is really neat. It's a little harder to use, but it's Explore. You're not going to break anything. When you hit it, it brings up 4 little types of reports how you can explore things. The very last one is really, really nice. It's called Path Exploration. And
So what does
again,
that mean?
it's a little complicated, but you can set up the path exploration to say, where did all my organic travel come? What page did they hit first? What page did they hit second?
So it like tracks their journey with your site.
It shows exactly how people are flowing through your page. And what I think is very interesting, I think a lot of the professional marketers for the small businesses and website developers, they get paid for how many pages you want to put on your site, right? So you
Right.
look at the path exploration, and all of a sudden you see that all these pages are dead ends for your people coming to your site.
Now,
They
what
don't
do you
go
mean a
into
dead end?
these, yeah, they don't come into this page that's very, very interesting, and then come back out and book a room.
Oh, that's
Some
where it
do.
ends. So their visit stopped right there.
Yes, yes. And so you need the extra content because Google's going to reward you for it. And they actually reward you in their algorithm that people are visiting and going through your website. But your business is getting people to book.
Right.
And so it's an art. I don't think anyone can treat it as a science, but this path exploration tool is really worth exploring. If you have someone working on your website, you can start to challenge them a little bit and say,
Ah,
why is everyone dropping out? Why did everyone take this path? How can we funnel more people to the booking engine to book?
yeah, good. Which
Okay,
is the
so
whole value of Google Analytics. How do you get
exactly.
people to book?
It's like your bank account. You know,
How do you add more money into it?
exactly. Exactly. So I think, and again, it's not once you've been into it for 1, 2, 3 years, you'll kind of see um, not as much new, and then just having the reports once a month will probably be okay because then you'll just see whether or not something's starting to crater. But the opposite of that is Google is always trying to make this more valuable for business. It's a tool.
Yep.
They recognize that they're tracking people for their purposes to try and collect enough information on those people to find out what to sell them. On the flip side, they're also trying to make the internet useful for people booking, including the business owner.
Yep.
So it's as best they can. I think it's trying to make a win-win situation, and I think all of our members should really take advantage of it.
Well, awesome. I think we will. I know I will. So,
How often do you check your analytics, Kim?
so I do have 2 or 3 reports, custom reports, but I don't look at it enough. I have to get into that cycle of every other week or once a month, pull it up. I just pulled it up this morning and I found Mish B&B. There you are. Whoa, look how many people came to us through our association.
Yes.
So you learn quite a bit.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem with the automatic reports. I think you hit the nail on the head is that, it's just more paper, if you will. It's more emails that you need to get through. And perhaps you could recommend something like, once a week on Monday morning, Sunday night, sometime when you're kind of in a reflective mood and an analytical mood, and that maybe once a week you should just go in there, regardless of the reports you send.
Yep. And again, that would be analytics.google.com, and just play around. You're not going to break it.
Yep, yep. And if you have questions,
That was my next part. How, would people have questions from our conversation, how can they get a hold of you?
so I would love to entertain people, and for a lot of people, I'll even go ahead and do a little Zoom, spend an hour with people. We did that last year, and it worked out pretty well. I did not do the follow through, just like you should be following through, looking at your
Yep.
Google.
Yep.
But I would really entertain if they just send a note either through the website. We now have a nice contact menu item, and I'll get back in touch. You can call us directly at our business telephone, 828-595-0253. And also, obviously, you can email office at michbnb.com.
Awesome. Well,
Or
thank you, Byron.
you can tell Ken to to send a note through Ken.
Yep, you can do that too. Well, thank you very much for having this conversation, and we look forward to more in the future.
Oh, I look forward to it, Ken.
Thank you.
Bye.